It was a somewhat uneventful but extremely successful signing day for Louisville as top commits Jaydin Broadnax, Briggs Cherry, and others are officially Cardinals.
You are Locked On Louisville, your daily podcast on the Louisville Cardinals. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Card Nation, what's going on, everyone? Welcome into this Thursday edition of the Locked On Louisville podcast. I'm your host, Dalton Pence. This is my 6th year covering U of L, 4th year hosting this show. Of course, Locked On Louisville, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, now the #1 sports podcast network on the planet. And today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. If you want to be right in the middle of the action this season, visit FanDuel.com and place your NFL live bets all season long. Got a lot of stuff to discuss on today's show. Men's basketball, first loss of the season, falling at number 25, Arkansas on the road. Rough first half. Second half, it got closer. Overall, I'm not worried. But there are some things that the Cardinals have to improve pretty quickly, and we'll tell you what those things are at the end of the show. But the first two segments are going to be about football signing day. It was a rather uneventful, but nonetheless very successful signing day for the Cardinals. Now, the signing period goes from Wednesday to Friday, but Louisville saw all of the action on Wednesday. 19 of the 20 commits signed on Wednesday. That includes Jaydin Broadnax and Briggs Cherry. Now, there was some movement in the class, one flip to the program, one flip away from the program, and we will start there after we begin with just the overall details. 19 guys signed. There's 20 committed. This was the largest class that Louisville has signed in any of Jeff Brom's first 3 seasons. Now, the first couple of seasons were very much portal dominated. This one will be too, but there was a motion to invest in the high school recruiting more. That's why you go out and you bring on a Vince Morrow onto the staff. And this is a quality class, one that you can build some continuity with moving forward. I really like this class as a whole. And the main thing that I think I liked the most from Wednesday was you had a couple guys that's throughout the process, you didn't know if they were going to flip or not. They stayed loyal, they stayed committed, and ultimately signed on Wednesday. Let's begin, however, with the flips. When I say it was a rather uneventful, that doesn't mean that nothing happened. What I truly am trying to portray here is just how wild this signing period already has become. You see it with schools like LSU, Ohio State, USC. Look at all the SEC schools and how many guys are flipping at the last minute, some highly rated players. So for the Cardinals to lose one player to a flip and bring in another player, I would consider that rather uneventful. Now, we already talked about one of the flips a couple days ago. Jordan Van, safety from Ohio. There was a second flip to the program, rather familiar name. That is, Ben Corhei. I think that's how you pronounce his name. Corhei. Offensive lineman from Georgia, flipped his commitment from South Florida to Louisville. Of course, the Bulls they didn't have a head coach until now. It seems like they're bringing in Brian Hartline. But Alex Golesh left for Arkansas, and he ended up opening his recruitment back up and committing and signing to Louisville. He was committed to Louisville at one point this year, decommitted, and now he's back in the fold. The Cardinals did lose a commitment, and it's not the first time that they've lost his commitment. Defensive lineman Josiah Hope from North Hardin High School committed to Louisville, then flipped to Purdue, then decommitted from Purdue and went back to Louisville, and then on signing day, ended up flipping back to Purdue. So it's just one of those situations where it's like, I mean, having trouble picking a school, one or the other, he ends up going to Purdue. It is what it is. I think what encourages me the most is that the Cardinals held on to their quote-unquote crown jewels of the class. There are a couple of them headlined by two names. The first one is Jaydin Broadnax, the highest ranked player in the class, according to On3. He's the 216th best player in the country, 25th best cornerback, and 31st best player in the state of Florida. Comes from Boca Raton, 6'3", 4-star prospect. He was a guy that when he committed, you knew that it was going to be a battle to keep him in the fold up until signing day. And multiple schools were trying to get involved, Florida being the main one. And he stayed loyal, stayed committed, signed his national letter of intent on Wednesday. I will say this isn't coming from someone within the program, but someone that has closer ties to the program than I do. Flat out told me that he wouldn't be surprised if Jaydin Broadnax is going, he wouldn't be surprised if Jaydin Broadnax would compete for snaps in fall camp to be in the 2 deep. Like, that's how good Broadnax is. He's one of those rare prospects that could end up as a potential starter year one. I don't want to put the cart before the horse, but most of Louisville's players that have signed are going to be early enrollees. That's awesome to hear. You get players around the team, get them in the weight room, get them learning the playbook, and give them more time to build some chemistry and just get used to the college life. But Broadnax is one of those guys that, yes, he's definitely a building piece for the future, but hey, the future could be now at this point with how good people talk about him. So it's awesome to see Louisville hold on to his commitment. I've been calling for the staff to go out and get those difference makers in the high school class, especially on defense, and Jaydin Broadnax fits that description. He is a difference maker. The other player that headlines this class is 4-star quarterback Briggs from Knoxville, Tennessee, 308th ranked recruit in the country, top 25 player at his position, number 11 player in the state of Tennessee. Truthfully, I think that he is even a little bit lower rated than he should be. Probably, in my opinion, a top 150 player in the country. A lot of Louisville fans have kind of proclaimed him to be the guy of the future, and for good reason. What he's been able to do in his high school career, 6'4", 210 pounds, plays for the Baylor school, who I think plays in the state championship this week. He's a player that you can definitely envision leading Louisville's offense for multiple seasons. Now, the high school recruiting hasn't been bad for quarterbacks. You've had Deuce Adams, Pierce Clarkson, he ended up transferring out, but the fan base is calling for an internal option to take over the starting quarterback role and be the guy for a couple seasons, not have to have a transfer portal guy come in and start every single year. Now, this upcoming season, I do think you're going to see the staff go back to the transfer portal well and get a starting quarterback, at the very least, a guy that can compete with Deuce Adams. Briggs has the talent to be the guy of the future, but it's pretty much against Brom's MO for a freshman quarterback to start right away, and you're putting a lot of pressure on him to step in and be productive. I think a redshirt season would be extremely beneficial, and then heading into his second year, then the conversation is something that we can have, right? We can discuss whether or not it's time to hand the keys of the Louisville offense over to Briggs. But it's awesome to see them go out and get one of the elite signal callers of the high school recruiting class, because Cherry has shined all season long, last off season, in the spring. You heard about some teams trying to get involved, some borderline blue blood level programs. LSU at one point reached out to Briggs. This was back in the summer when Brian Kelly was still the coach. But again, awesome to see the top commitments stay in the fold for this program. And don't get me wrong, as much as, or as important as Jaydin Broadnax and Briggs are to this recruiting class, they aren't the only guys that I was kind of, holding my breath to see if they were going to sign on that dotted line on Wednesday. And we'll tell you some more about guys like Julius Miles, Jarvis Strickland, Peyton Cook, Lakai Tompkins. This is a really good recruiting class. I think that you could see multiple players in this class as eventual starters sooner rather than later. We'll discuss when we come back. Don't go anywhere. You're tuned into Locked On Louisville, covering your team every day. The holidays are officially here, which means gift hunting season is on. And if you want something meaningful, personal, and guaranteed to get a reaction, Aura Frames is the gift that delivers every time. It's not just something you wrap, it's something to share memories, because Aura isn't just your average picture frame. You can preload the frame with photos before gifting it, so when they plug it in, the memories are already there. No apps to figure it out, no setup headaches, just instant smiles. Packaging comes gift ready, no price tag, no wrapping needed. Huge win. It's a holiday that, for me, got used from my family members, not just forgotten and thrown in a drawer. So for a limited time, save on the perfect gift by visiting auraframes.com to get $35 off Aura's best-selling Carver matte frames, named #1 by Wirecutter, by using the promo code COLLEGE at checkout. That's AURA frames.com with the promo code COLLEGE. This deal is exclusive to listeners, and frames sell out fast. So order yours now to get it in time for the holidays. Support the show by mentioning us at checkout. Terms and conditions apply. Thank you all so much for making us your first listen of the day. Just a reminder, Locked On Louisville, free and available on all streaming services, including YouTube and TikTok, 5 days a week, your team every day. Be sure to hit that subscribe button. Leave us a comment in the YouTube section below. Both are great ways to help the show continue to grow. Shout out to all the everydayers out there. If this is your first time tuning in, we're glad that you're here. Locked On Podcast Network is the #1 sports podcast network in the world for a reason, and it's because of you all. Hey, I don't know if you all have seen this before, but if you watch the show on YouTube or you listen on Spotify, you can actually go to your user tab and look at the 2025 replay. And if Locked On Louisville is one of your top podcasts listened to, share it on social media at @defense_. At the bottom of your screen, if you're watching it, at @LO_Louisville on X. Share it. That is a great way to help the show continue to grow as well, word of mouth. So let's continue to react to the signing day for the Cardinals. Like I mentioned, 19 of the 20 commits ended up signing. The only one that technically did not sign yet is Crew Molador. He is the lowest ranked commit in the class, just inside of the top 2,000. 6'4" interior offensive lineman from Gainesville, Georgia, 3-star, 190th player in the state. I tried to do some research and didn't find anywhere that suggested what day he was signing or if he was delaying his signing. I'm not sure. So it's just something to monitor as to whether or not he signs in the early signing period, signs in February, or signs at all. So we will keep tabs on that decision. But Broadnax and Cherry, despite them being the two crown jewels of the class, they don't represent the only players that you should be excited about. Truthfully, I think that this is a really good class. This is one that it might not be ranked all that high, and I think a lot of that's because of the numbers, right? I mean, less than 20 recruits being signed, but the average player is an 87, which isn't bad, and it's pretty top-heavy. Outside of the two that we talked about last segment, there are a couple that, looking at this, Louisville went really offensive-heavy. Julius Miles, one of the best tight ends in the state of Florida, 3-star from Freeport, Florida, ranked just outside of the top 400, ended up signing 23rd best player at the position, 57th best player in the state. Also he's from IMG, but he's from Tennessee, went to IMG. Lakai Tompkins, running back that had a great season with IMG. Remember how we heard about all these other programs in the mix? Not only for Miles, but for Tompkins as well. And Tompkins, just a couple days before signing day, publicly shut his recruitment down. Now, truthfully, judging how recruiting goes right now, it's hard to take that seriously, because 1,000% committed really doesn't mean anything anymore. Shutting my recruitment down really doesn't mean anything anymore from a general sense. So awesome to see a couple of skill position guys sign on Wednesday. Louisville brought in a couple of wide receivers. Out of their 19 guys that they signed, 4 of them were wide receivers. Peyton Cook, who is the top-rated one. You have Marlon Harbin, do-it-all type guy for St. X, who I think is going to be a diamond in the rough. You have DJ Williams from Tampa, Florida, and then Gavin Waddell from Roseville, North Carolina. You've got Julius Miles at the tight end spot, Lakai Tompkins at running back, Briggs Cherry at quarterback. Offensive line, you brought in technically, 5 guys that have signed. Outside of Crew Molidor, 5 guys have signed. Max Mers, Ben Corhei, Jarvis Strickland, Charlie Edgeworth, Brighton Close. So there's a focus on the offensive side of the football, as there needed to be. You're losing a lot of production from this season, and looking at the ranks behind them, looking at the depth chart, kind of slim in terms of numbers. So you needed to beef those numbers up, give you some depth added into the program, but also some guys that you can develop and have them rise to be starters here in a year or so. When you look at guys that could end up stepping up and competing for playing time right away, I look at players like maybe Lakai Tompkins, depending on what the running back room looks like next season. Julius Miles could be the one most in line for some playing time. You have Peyton Cook, who comes from Akron, Ohio. I think Cook, Marlon Harbin, and Julius Miles are the 3 that I could see playing early on, because you lose a lot of skill position production. Going over to the defensive side of the ball, Jordan Van, of course, flipped from Michigan State to Louisville. You had another athlete that was committed that will be playing the safety position as well. I think is DJ Williams, is he playing wide receiver? I know that he can play safety, but probably going to be a wide receiver at the next level. Jaydin Broadnax, Jordan Van. You also brought in Chris Brunson from Georgia. But overall, Broadnax and Van are 2 defensive backs that I would not be shocked in the slightest if you saw their names in the 2 deep in the fall. Truthfully, I think that that's legit. Broadnax could be a day 1 starter. If not, he's going to definitely be involved. And if Van is not playing significant snaps as a freshman on defense, I would venture out to say that he's going to be involved in the equation at special teams. Really great additions to the back end of the Cardinals defense. Louisville didn't bring in much from a defensive line perspective. You got Sam Dawson from Crestwood, played over at South Oldham. Of course, you lost Josiah Hope, but you have Taj Powell, 6'3", 205 pounds. You got Brady Ballard, 6'2", 220. John Adams, 6'3", 210. Linebacker, pass rusher, hybrid. So most of the defensive line additions will be either from the portal. Actually, they will be from the portal, or you'll just see some internal options rise into the mix. And Louisville has some guys that they're looking to take that next step forward to be able to play more in the fall. So overall, looking at this signing day class, I'm not sure if Louisville's done, by the way. They might be able to flip 1 or 2 more players. I'm not sure how many. I'm not sure who they're involved with. It seems like the staff is keeping things pretty close to chest at the moment. But if it remains to where 19 to 20 is the number, then the focus now goes to the transfer portal, where the Cardinals will be looking to, revamp this roster and put them in a spot to where they're contending for the ACC title next season. Good news is it sounds like more NIL money is coming down the pipeline. On Friday's episode of the show, we're going to talk about Jeff Brom deciding to stay with Louisville. Shocker. I know, guys. It was definitely a foregone conclusion that he was leaving, according to some. He was going to automatically accept an offer. No. Of course, I'm being sarcastic. That wasn't going to happen. Jeff Brom did clear the air, though, and he's going to be a Louisville Cardinal. Extension is not a matter of if, but when. And we'll talk about that more on tomorrow's show, but we're going to wrap it up with some unfortunate conversation. Louisville basketball lost for the first time last night against Arkansas. First half was rough. Second half encouraged me a little bit. I'm not really worried, Card Nation. Let's be clear. But, man, there are some things that this team definitely needs to improve. We'll tell you what those things are when we come back. Don't go anywhere. You're tuned into Locked On Louisville, covering your team every day. NFL Sundays move fast. One large play, and suddenly everything feels different. That's what makes live betting with FanDuel so exciting. You're not just watching the game, you're reacting to it in real time. With FanDuel, you can place live bets as the action unfolds. Every drive, every momentum swing, every highlight moment. I told you all about this past weekend when my Chargers played the Las Vegas Raiders, and I thought to myself, well, tied at halftime, I think the Chargers are going to pull this one out, and they did in pretty comfortable fashion. And I took the Chargers money line live at halftime, and it felt like such a great decision. So if you want to be right in the middle of the action like me this season, visit FanDuel.com. Place your NFL live bets all season long. FanDuel, the game moves fast, so can you. One more episode left in the week. We'll have that conversation about Jeff Brom verbally committing to Louisville or verbally shutting down the rumors. We'll preview the upcoming men's basketball game against Indiana and much more here. Let me switch the virtual background from Cardinal Stadium back to the KFC Yum Center. It was a humbling evening on Wednesday night for the Louisville men's basketball team. They traveled to Bud Walton Arena for their first road game of the season, playing number 25 Arkansas, and they ended up losing 89-80. It wasn't really that close in the first half. Louisville never had a lead in this game. They trailed by 20 in the first 20 minutes and went into halftime trailing by, 18 points. Got the game to 5 with about 8 minutes to go and ultimately just couldn't get over the hump. Now, I'll start with this. I was concerned about this matchup coming in because of how physical Arkansas plays, their attention to detail on the offensive rebounding, the defense they like to play, and their overall size. And Louisville struggled with all of those. They struggled with all of them. It was an ugly start for the Cardinals. They looked flustered, and they looked like they were playing their first game on the road. Now, here's the thing. I'm not really overly worried. You lost. It sucks. You kind of just have to take the punch on the chin and move on. It's December 4th. Season is not over. I've seen some people doomsdaying on social media in group chats, and I just can't get with it. I'm not going to tell you how to fan, but I came away from this game, of course, bummed out. Credit to Arkansas, but I feel like maybe this is one of those losses that humbles you a little bit. Remember when Louisville lost against Kansas and then they beat Kentucky, and then the talk after the Kentucky game was, man, I'm not sure if Louisville beats Kentucky if they don't lose and get humbled by Kansas. I will never say that a loss is 100% necessary because I'd much rather get a win. But, hey, this was a learning experience. First game on the road, you're going up against one of the more physical teams that you will have to play this season. Arkansas is the epitome of physicality, size, and rebounding. Will you play another team that is as physical as them? I'm not sure. Tennessee is similar to them. Duke is similar to them. But Arkansas, in my opinion, coming into this game, coming into the season, was going to be the most physical team that you would play. Now, first half, it was an all-systems misfire. I think that the shot selection was poor. I didn't know what Louisville was trying to do on offense. It seemed like a lot of hero ball. Michael Brown Jr. and Ryan Conwell took times dribbling the basketball for the majority of the shot clock. And what followed was poor shot selection, hunting three-point shots and not taking the ball to the basket. Now, it changed in the second half. And look, I was encouraged by the way that this team fought. You could have just, rolled over and laid down and got beat by 40, but you didn't. You clawed your way back in. You showed more effort, but couldn't get over the hump. The things that hurt the Cardinals the most was on-ball defense and rebounding. Louisville didn't shoot the ball well at all. 41% from the field, but 22% from three. 8 of 37. I'm okay with Louisville shooting almost 40 three-pointers a game. I'm not okay when the quality of the three-point shots is not good. Yes, they were missing some open shots, but how many times did you see contested three-pointers? Desperation three-pointers. It seemed like early on there was much movement. There was much intention to get to the basket. I understand Arkansas has got the height and the defensive prowess around the rim, but you at least have to. You saw in the second half when Michael Brown Jr. tried to take it to the rim, when Ryan Conwell tried to take it to the rim. Good things happen for this offense. That's what's got to happen moving forward. I want to see Michael not bail defenses out, because when you're sidestepping threes from 30 feet away, which you can do, you can hit those, you're not making the defense defend you much. Get downhill, get to the rim to where you can kick it out to an open shooter or get to the basket, because nobody really to this point has been able to like truly stay in front of Michael. Same goes for Conwell. Get to the basket, get those touches in the paint. Defensively, yes, again, going up against one of the more physical teams that you will play. This team's got to get better with on-ball defense. They got to get better defending ball screens. They have to get better limiting offensive boards. They got out rebounded in this game by 10, 46-36, and it felt like more. Arkansas shot 33% from three, pretty much on par with their normal numbers. They didn't shoot the ball well from the field. They did, however, shoot almost double the amount of free throws that Louisville did. Arkansas made more than Louisville took. 27-35 for Arkansas, 14 of 18 for Louisville. I thought it was a pretty hilarious whistle. I won't lie. I'm not going to sit here and blame officiating as the reason that Louisville lost. I did think that the whistle was very one-sided. You're playing on the road, didn't really get any of the benefit of the doubt, didn't get any of the 50-50 calls, thought that certain levels of contact were allowed for one team and not the other. It is what it is. Got to mention it because it definitely played a factor into this. You lose by 9 and you shoot 17 less free throws. Something's pretty wrong here. Now, I know that Louisville shot more threes, but just watch the game. You saw what I saw. But it is what it is, because that's not the reason why Louisville lost. The reason why Louisville lost is because they got outplayed. Arkansas was more physical. They enforced their will. They rebounded better. They had more second chance opportunities, and they defended better. Louisville had an issue, like I said, with on-ball defense and rebounding. I think there needs to be better shot selection. There's got to be more of an intention from the lead guards to take it to the rim. And I think that this team's just got to be tougher, because that was why we had the conversation earlier in the week about, this is such an important stretch because I want to see how Louisville responds. They responded like they did against Kansas, which was not in a great way. Now, it's still early. It's December 4th. This is a learning experience, and that's what you hope that the coaching staff and the team takes this as. You go back to the drawing board, you watch the film, you diagnose what went wrong, you put measures in place to fix it, and you move on. There's way too much season to go to sit here and panic, but there is an urgency because you now will play Indiana on Saturday. Like, that's what I'm saying, is you lose a game, you don't really get a bye game to feel good, to right the ship. You've got to fix it on the fly and get ready for another quality opponent. I thought the way that the second half went helped the vibes a little bit. There is a little bit of a silver lining, but it just wasn't a good enough performance. Was it because it was the first time on the road? Was it because of the physicality that they played against? Was it because of the whistle? Was it because of the on-ball defensive rebounding? Correct. Everything all together. Not going to look too much into this. It's one of those, you take the punch on the chin and you move on. Credit to Arkansas. Thought they played well. I knew it was going to be a weird game when Trevon Brazile, who was 4 for 22 from 3 to start the year, started out 2 for 2. and had 21 points. Darius Acuff had 16. Louisville overall, Michael Brown Jr., 22 points and 5 rebounds. Ryan Conwell had 15. Isaac McNeely with 11. Would like to see some more Kenai Roots minutes. Would like to see Kason Pryor continue to get more run. Not a great performance from the local basketball team tonight, but it is what it is. You move on. We'll preview what we want to see against Indiana when we come back on Friday's show. That's going to wrap up today's episode. Everyone have a great day. We'll see you back here tomorrow. Go Cards.